I had originally intended to make this video 2 days ago to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Columbine High School massacre. However, things came up and I got a little sidetracked and I was just really busy and I didn't get an opportunity to make it. Not to mention my camera was out of batteries. And in any case, Columbine, as I just said, happened 20 years ago. Two guys, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, went into the school. Between them, they killed 13 people, not counting themselves, and wounded about 24 more. But what's the build-up? What were they planning, and what actually happened? See, today, Columbine is and is now infamous as a school shooting. It's one of the most infamous events of mass murder in history, in recent history. However, what most people don't know is that it didn't go the way they planned it at all. They originally intended it to be like a bombing, more of a bombing than a shooting. They had two big-ass propane bombs, and they put them in the cafeteria, and Eric Harris had just spent a great deal of time in the cafeteria taking notes as to the time and how many people would be in there. And when the bombs went off, well, the bombs didn't go off. But if they had gone off, they would have killed a lot of people. They didn't go off because the timers were faulty. You see, contrary to popular belief, you have to have some experience to build big-ass bombs like this. It's a little bit more of an engineering challenge than just building a few crappy pipe bombs or a tennis ball bomb or something like that. Anyway, they sort of improvised as they went in. After the bombs didn't go off, they just got a little frustrated and decided, okay, let's just shoot everybody. They improvised. Their plan was in tatters. They also had a bunch of two big propane bombs and gasoline inside their cars, which they originally planned to go off and kill first responders that arrived at the scene and wounded students who had survived the initial attack. Anyway, they went in. They of course went into that library and gunned down a bunch of people. They laughed and as people pleaded for mercy, and shot them. But however, there are a lot of myths. They did not go into that school targeting jocks per se. In fact, they even let one jock go in the parking lot as he harassed them. But the reality is that they were just there to kill everybody in that school. But what's interesting is that Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold were very different from one another. Both of them kept journals, but the journals were very different. In Eric's journal, the most common word was hate. In Dylan's journal, the most common word was love. The fact of the matter is that both of these people were depressed. There is not a lot of consistency between school shooters a lot of the time. Some of them were bullied, like Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold were by many accounts. Some of them actually were bullies, like Elliot Rodger, for example, Charles Whitman, Michael Hayes, and so forth. Anyway, in spite of all of this, there are, a lot of mass shooters have clean criminal records, like Stephen Paddock and Adam Lanza. Some of them have very long and distinguished criminal histories, like Nicholas Cruz and Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Anyway, not to mention James Oliver Huberty. And anyway, it's just Eric Harris said he wishes he were a god so everybody could officially be beneath him, whereas Dylan Klebold described himself as a god of sadness. Now, in the light of this, schools amped up their zero tolerance policies by about a factor of 10 at least. People just went nuts after this thing. It really started a moral panic. But in any case, it's like if you've seen the movie Heathers, there's this one scene where where one of the characters pulls out a gun and shoots blanks at these two jocks. This movie was made about a little over 10 years before Columbine. However, in the movie the character was suspended for a few days. These days he would at least be expelled, if not incarcerated. And in any case, moving on. People that they just started talking out of their asses. It was like it's because of bullying, it's because of the trench coat mafia, it's because of violent video games, it's because of gun control laws, too few gun control laws. It's because of Marilyn Manson, and just a whole bunch of other stuff that was even more absurd. But the reality is that bloodbaths are usually a lot more complex than that. I mean, the only thing a lot of these mass shooters have in common is that they're male, and they're most always depressed. I don't want to say always depressed, but I have yet to find or hear about a mass shooter who had a happy life. Because nobody commits suicide when they're happy. Forget it. And, anyway, you see, you really have to have a miserable life to do a mass shooting. I mean, think about it. You're either, one of three things is going to happen. You're either going to spend the rest of your life in jail, in prison, You're going to kill yourself. You're going to be killed by the police, or you're going to, that's pretty much it. You're going to kill yourself, you're going to get killed by the police, or you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. So, yeah. And you got to have a lot of hate in your heart as well. And what we have here is Eric was diagnosed clinically as a psychopath, and it was just he also by his own admission he had a god complex. He was very narcissistic. A lot like Elliot Rodger, who said, "I will be a god compared to you, and I'm the supreme gentleman, the true alpha male," and all that crap. And, it's just, the problem with a lot of this stuff, and Dylan Klebold was clinically depressed. He had a great deal of depression and sadness in his life. Again, nobody does these things. I can't find one example of a happy school shooter or mass murderer or anything like that. In all my research, I challenge you to find one. And if you do, my hat's off to you. Well, wait a second, I'm not wearing a hat. But anyway, there've just been a lot of myths out there. I mean, people play violent video games. People buy up whole arsenals of weapons. People watch movies. They listen to Marilyn Manson. They wear trench coats, and most of them don't become murderers, let alone mass murderers. Hell, most psychopaths and clinically depressed people don't become murderers, let alone mass murderers. And mass murders are very rare, but however, they are becoming more common, and it's due to the copycat effect. You see, there are more school shootings these days because of Columbine. It influenced a lot of people, and those people influenced more people. It was just a chain reaction. And the first big school shooting that everybody knows about where he just shot random people was in Austin, Texas in the 60s. Charles Whitman. He initially killed his wife and mother, and he killed somebody as he was climbing the tower, and shot some people on the stairways, and well, as he was going to the tower, and then went up to the tower and sniped people until until the city started to return fire, and he was killed by the Austin Police Department. Anyway, Columbine was not the first school shooting, and it most certainly was not the last. There are going to be more school shootings, sadly, because there are a bunch of depressed people out there with homicidal urges and who watch a lot of TV. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye.